Okay, my name is Iida. I am an education scholar and a management consultant, but I'm also an ex-artistic swim coach and primary school teacher. So that is where my ancestors are coming from, if it's wonder. And I am here today to just I'm going to get us started by asking all of you, when was the last time you had a deep and meaningful conversation about what is good teaching in your organization? Last week, this quarter, last year, never? If you never had one, or you haven't had one in a year, it's not you, I'm telling you this. I'm here to argue that teaching in organizations is often like background music. It's always there, it's super important for the vibes, but it's rarely recognized, registered, or talked about. And this is kind of funny because we hear a lot about learning and learning organizations, but we hear way less about this less sexy counterpart of learning called teaching. And philosophers of education actually suggest that one cannot even exist without the other, that in order for learning to happen, someone or something always needs to be teaching. And okay, we know a lot about learning, we're so hyper-focused on it. I'm going to leave it for today, and I'm going to be speaking about teaching that I define as the science, art, and practice of giving guidance that fosters inquiry, innovation, inquiry, and shared growth. Now, it would be great if all organizations viewed learning like this, but I think it too often becomes misconceptualized, uneven or scattered. Especially good teaching becomes quite scattered, and invisible when great teaching is happening. And what this leads to is obviously a missed opportunity both for individuals and for organizations. So we are smart, but we're not as smart as we could be. Now, how do we actually make everyone teach better, therefore learn better, and therefore solve more problems? I have worked with and in loads of different types of organizations. Some of them have been explicit teaching organizations, so schools. And I have been collecting this long list of best practices, but I don't have time to share them with you today. So instead, I am going to talk about 3 principles of teaching organizations, and I'm going to be giving an example how each one of these principles can be enacted in practice. And we're going to start with maybe my favorite, everyone is a teacher. And I'm bringing an example from my own organization. So we have teaching as a top 3 individuals' performance measure. And this means that it's part of every single project review, every single biannual review, and it's part of all of our role descriptions on every level. And this is also something we're specifically on a lookout when we're hiring or when we're evaluating someone during their internship or probation period. And that is, could this person, no matter how junior, make us all better somehow? What was the way? What was the new insight they brought to the senior partner of the company? I know it's a tough ask, but it is a really key one. It also means that teaching is not just for the senior leaders to preach, you know? Second of all, teaching happens everywhere. I know a lot of us work in super fast-paced project environments, so we just don't have the luxury to treat teaching or learning as something extra. That okay, we'll just put it and we'll have all the resources for it. No, it has to happen on the go, so to say. So one good practice that I've seen to ensure that teaching is actually happening in projects is to actually have a super deliberate plan at the kickoff of the project. Who is gonna learn what? And not only that, who is there to teach them? And how is everyone becoming then better at teaching and at learning within the project? And then reviews are great for this. Thirdly, teaching is recognized. Now this means celebrating teaching as an everyday practice, as a habit, and as a virtue. I'm an ex-philosopher of education, if you can't tell already. And there are a lot of great practices for this. I've seen everything from celebrating teaching as a company value, holding people accountable this way, to actually shouting out excellent teaching behaviors in Slack, on Slack. And that's surprisingly powerful because people model what they see is being cheered for. Now, I know I'm almost out of time. And another thing, another thing I know is like the the title of my speech was From Learning Organizations to Teaching Organizations. But now I think of it that maybe it's the other way around. That maybe in order to get this sparkling, exciting learning organization, we have to actually pay a visit to the unsexy side of learning and first be a very diligent teaching organization. So turn up the background music and let's bring teaching back to learning.